What is an idiom? Now, the standard dictionary definition of an idiom says that it is a group of words whose collective meaning is totally different from that of the individual words. The word idiom comes to the English language from Greek, where it means the speech that is spoken by a particular group of people or by the people belonging to a particular place. So, what does this mean? This means that every culture has their own idiom, and it also means that every language has its own idiom as well. Today, we are going to talk about 3 or 4 idioms in the English language. So, the first idiom that I'm going to talk about today is straight from the horse's mouth. Now, what does this mean? Straight from the horse's mouth means that you are getting your information directly from the most reliable source. Usually, this would be the person who is directly related or has first-hand experience of the event that you're talking about. For example, suppose I say, I heard that Arun is getting married tomorrow. Now, my friend asks me, how do you know that? And I reply, I heard it straight from the horse's mouth. Now, usually this would mean that I probably heard this straight from Arun himself, because obviously Arun would be the most reliable source to talk about his own wedding. Where do we get this idiom from? In the olden days, horses were a very valuable commodity, and people would buy and sell horses. Now, just like today, in the olden days as well, sometimes sellers would try to cheat their buyers, and they would say that a particular horse was maybe 5 years younger than it truly was, or might say that their health was good when its health was not too good. So, how did the buyers determine what a horse really was like? So, a really good buyer could tell just by looking at the horse's teeth whether the horse was of a particular age and how healthy it was. So, this was the way to determine whether a horse could be bought or not. And that is where we get this idiom from, because the horse is the direct source of information. And if the horse has given you that information, then you can rely on it being true. Therefore, the buyers would look inside the horse's mouth and determine whether it was worth buying or not. And that is where we get this idiom from. Now, this story is also the reason why we get a couple of other idioms and sayings. The first one is, never look a gift horse in the mouth. What does this mean? It means that when someone gifts you a horse, you shouldn't be doing all this verification and checking, because after all, it's a gift. And if you do all this checking, it might offend the person who has gifted it to you. And also, it's a gift, so it's free, so you don't really need to evaluate whether you're getting value for money or not. We also get the phrase long in the tooth, because for horses, as they grew older, their teeth would be longer. And therefore, by looking at their mouths and their teeth, you could say what their age was. What does this phrase mean, long in the tooth? It means someone is getting old or someone is really old. For example, he's a really good cricket player, but he's getting a little long in the tooth. I think we might have to decide whether we want to select him again. Also, let us look at this saying again, never look a gift horse in the mouth. In what kind of sentence would you use this? Let's say someone has gifted you something and you're trying to go through it. Now, let us look at this proverb again, never look a gift horse in the mouth. And through examples, let us try to see situations in which it can be used. For example, if someone gifts me a kurta, and at that point itself, I start to examine it to check if there are any tears, if the color suits me really well or not, if there are any threads hanging loose, then I'm really looking a gift horse in the mouth. I shouldn't be doing it because I don't want to offend the person who has just gifted me the kurta. The second idiom that I'm going to talk about is also somewhat related to teeth. It's called bite the bullet. What does this mean? It means that you have to push yourself through to do some unpleasant task. For example, petrol prices are high, but we need to drive our cars, so we'll just have to bite the bullet and buy petrol at those prices anyway. Where do you get this idiom from? Again, in the olden days, when wars were fought on the battlefield, doctors would not have their fancy tools, they would not have the facility for anesthesia, so they would have to operate on the soldiers on the battlefield itself. And obviously, when you're being cut up on the battlefield, it's going to cause you a lot of pain. So to get through the pain, soldiers would usually be given something to put between their teeth, which they would bite on, and hopefully that would allow them to tolerate some of the pain a little bit. Now, usually on the battlefield, the most accessible and available thing was a bullet. So the soldiers would be asked to bite the bullet and get through their pain. And that's what it means as an idiom as well, that you really have to push through and get through the pain of something unpleasant. The third idiom I'm going to discuss today is throw the baby out with the bathwater, or rather, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, because this is something that you don't want to be doing. What does it mean? Well, throwing the baby out with the bathwater means removing something positive together with the negatives. So where does this idiom come from? In the olden days again, in England, a lot of families would take bath in the same tub of water. And the sequence would be, you first had to give priority to the men. So the men would take bath first, and then it would be the women, and then the children, and finally the babies. Now, by the time it was the baby's turn to take bath, or rather be given a bath, the water was usually very cloudy. You could hardly see through it. So after the baby was given a bath, if a forgetful mother or a nurse forgot to take the baby out of the tub, then it was likely that they would throw the baby out together with the bath water. Now, the baby is obviously desirable. You want the baby to be there. You don't want to throw it out, but you want to throw the dirty bath water out. And that is where you get the idiom from. So it means that you don't throw something good out with the bad. For example, I know the team has been performing badly, but we cannot fire all the players. Let us not throw the baby out with the bath water, because you don't want to throw out the performing people together with the non-performing people. So today we have looked at 3 idioms, in fact more than 3, because we have also seen some extra derivatives from the horse's mouth. As you can see from these, idioms are very closely connected to culture. This is how language is truly a part of culture. I hope that you enjoyed these, and maybe we can discuss some more later.